It had been months since the world last heard from Jerry Yan and Tong Liya. After the storm that came with his family's disapproval and the quiet separation that followed, both of them disappeared from the spotlight, each taking time to heal in their own way. Yet, sometimes silence speaks louder than words, and in their silence, fans could feel something stirring, an unfinished story waiting for its second chance. Jerry had always been known for his calm, his composure, and that gentle way he carried himself even when emotions ran deep. But those who knew him closely noticed something change after Tong Liya left. His interviews became shorter, his smiles softer, almost forced. There was a quiet ache in him, one that even fame, friends, or time could not mend. Deep down, he missed her. Not the actress, not the public figure, but the woman who made his world feel real. Tong Liya, on the other hand, poured herself into her art. She danced again, returned to stage performances, and embraced the freedom of creating without boundaries. But even in her graceful movements, there was a trace of longing, a look that audiences couldn't ignore. Her fans saw beauty, those who knew her story saw pain. It was during one of her performances in Taipei that fate decided to play its hand. Jerry, invited as a guest by an old friend in the industry, didn't realize who he was about to see until she appeared on stage. There she was, Tong Liya, glowing under the lights, her movements telling a story of love lost and rediscovered. For a moment, the noise faded, and it was just her. And in that silence, something inside him softened. When the performance ended, Jerry waited quietly at the side entrance. He didn't have a plan. He didn't even know what he wanted to say. But as she walked out, surrounded by staff and fans, their eyes met, and the world around them stilled. She froze for a moment, her expression unreadable. He smiled gently, a quiet greeting that carried every unspoken word they had held back for years. They didn't speak that night. Not publicly. But days later, a photo surfaced, two familiar figures sitting in a quiet tea house, faces turned away from the camera, lost in conversation. The media went wild, but their fans rejoiced. It wasn't scandal this time, it was peace. Sources close to them revealed that their meeting wasn't planned, but the talk had been long and heartfelt. They spoke about the past, the misunderstandings, the pressure, the moments they let pride speak louder than love. Jerry apologized first, not with grand words, but with sincerity that Tong Liya had always admired in him. He admitted how he should have stood by her when things got tough, how he let fear and family influence his heart. Tong Liya listened quietly. She had built walls to protect herself, but hearing him speak that way, something broke inside her defenses. She confessed that she too had walked away not out of anger, but out of pain, because she thought he no longer cared. But in that moment, as tears filled her eyes, she realized that love, when true, never really leaves. It just waits for the right time to return. After that meeting, something shifted. They began to meet more often, away from the cameras, away from the noise. Friends said Jerry looked happier, lighter even. Tong Liya, too, started smiling again in interviews, her warmth returning in ways fans hadn't seen in years. It wasn't a publicity move. It was two people slowly finding their way back to what once felt lost. One afternoon, a journalist spotted them together at a small cafe near the mountains outside Taipei. No bodyguards, no stylists, just two people sharing coffee and laughter. When the photos hit the internet, fans couldn't contain their emotions. Comments flooded in, messages of support, of hope, of love that had survived the test of time. Neither Jerry nor Tong Liya released an official statement. They didn't need to. Their silence said everything. Sometimes, love doesn't need confirmation, it just needs to be felt. Industry insiders hinted that they had started discussing a potential project together, a quiet drama about time, forgiveness, and fate. If true, it would be their first time reuniting on screen since their rumored relationship began. Fans began calling it the return of love, and producers were already expressing interest in making it happen. But for Jerry and Tong Liya, this was not about the cameras. It was about rediscovering trust and cherishing what fame had once taken away from them. They spent their days away from the limelight, traveling quietly, visiting art galleries, and reconnecting with old friends who had once seen them at their happiest. Their story wasn't perfect, and maybe that's what made it so beautiful. They had faced rejection, misunderstanding, and heartbreak. Yet, here they were, still drawn together by something deeper than reason. Tong Liya once said in an interview, "Love is not about never being apart, it's about finding your way back, even when you thought you couldn't." When fans heard that, they knew who she was talking about. And Jerry, in a rare appearance on a talk show, echoed that sentiment when he smiled and said, "Sometimes you lose someone not because you stopped loving them, but because you both needed to grow before finding each other again." The word spread like wildfire online, touching hearts across Asia. People saw themselves in their story, a reminder that true love doesn't fade, it simply waits. As the year went on, both Jerry and Tong Liya were seen more often in public together, not hiding, not performing, just being themselves. Whether they were walking side by side at an airport or supporting each other's events, they seemed comfortable, grounded, and finally at peace. Fans began calling them the timeless couple because, unlike fleeting romances in the entertainment world, theirs felt real, earned through pain, patience, and forgiveness. And though neither of them has officially confirmed their relationship, everyone already knows the truth. Sometimes the heart doesn't need an announcement. The way they look at each other says it all. Jerry Yan and Tong Liya's love story reminds us that even after storms, the sun can shine again. That sometimes the right people find their way back, not because the world expects it, but because fate insists. They may have lived much of their love beyond the spotlight, but perhaps that's exactly where real love belongs. Quiet, sincere, and eternal. Months passed quietly, but something about Jerry Yan and Tong Liya's connection only grew stronger. What started as a tentative reconnection soon turned into something deeper, a second chance that neither of them dared to imagine years ago. Away from the noise of cameras and headlines, they found a rhythm that felt natural, easy, and real. Jerry had always been reserved when it came to matters of the heart. But this time, those close to him noticed he was different. He spoke about Tong Liya with calm certainty, not the guarded tone of a man afraid to lose control. He had already lost her once. He wasn't going to let that happen again. In private moments, he would often tell her how much he regretted letting family opinions dictate his choices. Tong Liya, too, opened up about her fears, how being with someone as admired as Jerry meant constantly living under scrutiny, and how she once felt her presence made his life harder. But Jerry assured her that those days were behind them. The world might still have its opinions, but what mattered now was that they had each other, and that was enough. Their relationship began to take on a quiet confidence. They didn't need to post pictures or attend events together. They were content with simple things, cooking meals at home, going for late-night walks, and visiting art exhibits when crowds were thin. These small, ordinary moments became their sanctuary. One evening, Tong Liya was invited to perform at a private charity gala in Shanghai, a cause close to her heart, supporting rural education. Jerry, though not part of the event, showed up quietly, sitting in the back row. When she walked on stage and saw him there, she smiled, a smile so genuine that the audience felt it. For the first time in a long time, her performance carried an unmistakable glow of joy. After the event, photographers caught them leaving together. This time, neither of them turned away from the cameras. Jerry simply placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, guiding her through the crowd. That simple gesture became a viral photo overnight, one that didn't need explanation. It wasn't a scandal, it was a statement of quiet, enduring love. Behind the scenes, Jerry had begun working on a new drama project, one he had personally requested Tong Liya to co-star in. It wasn't a grand romance story, but something deeper, about two people reconnecting after life's hardships, mirroring their own journey. When the casting news broke, fans across Asia erupted with excitement. Social media trended for days with tags like Jerry Liya reunion and second chance love. Producers revealed that the on-screen chemistry between them was undeniable. It was as if no time had passed. Every glance, every shared moment, carried unspoken emotion. Crew members described the atmosphere on set as intimate and electric. Even the director admitted he sometimes had to call for extra takes just to let them linger in their shared moments a little longer. Off camera, Jerry was attentive. He often stayed after filming to make sure Tong Liya wasn't overworked. He would bring her tea during breaks and insist on walking her to her car after late shoots. Those gestures didn't go unnoticed. Tong Liya would often tease him, saying, "You're still the same, always making sure everyone else is okay before yourself. He would just smile and reply softly, especially when it's you. As filming progressed, word spread that the drama wasn't just a story, it was a reflection of something real. Fans began writing letters, calling their reunion a miracle of timing. They had once drifted apart because of misunderstanding and pride, but now their love had returned, matured, calmer, and free of fear. When the series finally aired, the response was overwhelming. Viewers from across Asia tuned in, not just for the story, but for the authenticity that radiated through their scenes. Every look, every pause, felt real, because it was. The show became a cultural moment, reigniting interest in both of their careers. But what touched fans the most was how they spoke about each other during interviews. Tong Liya said, "Working with Jerry again reminded me of why I first admired him. His kindness has never changed." Jerry, on the other hand, simply smiled and said, "Sometimes, you meet someone who brings peace into your life. You don't realize how rare that is until you lose it once. I'm just grateful to have that peace again." Their words were subtle, but everyone understood the deeper meaning. It wasn't just about acting. It was about two hearts finding each other again, this time without fear, without pressure, and without the need to prove anything. Not long after the drama's success, fans began noticing something else: the way Tong Liya often wore a delicate bracelet in interviews, one that Jerry had given her years ago during their early days together. She never mentioned it, but every time she touched it absent-mindedly, viewers could tell it was a quiet symbol of something that had never truly ended. Jerry, too, made subtle gestures. During one award ceremony, when he was asked who inspired him the most during his comeback, he looked at Tong Liya in the audience and said, "Someone who taught me that love and patience can build anything, even after everything falls apart." The camera caught Tong Liya wiping away a tear, and that moment became one of the most shared clips of the year. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't performance. It was real emotion between two people who had walked through the fire and come out stronger together. As months turned into a year, rumors began to swirl that Jerry was planning something special. Close friends hinted at a quiet proposal, not a grand event, but something intimate, true to who they were. He was reportedly seen working with a local artist to design a ring, something simple but meaningful, symbolizing renewal and timeless connection. No one knew when or where it would happen, but fans could sense that their story was entering a new chapter. They had already defied expectations, healed old wounds, and built something rooted in trust and tenderness. Tong Liya once said to a friend, "Sometimes love doesn't need the world to understand it. It just needs two people willing to protect it." That's exactly what she and Jerry did. They protected their bond by keeping it sacred, away from the noise. Now, when people see them together, laughing softly, walking hand in hand, they see not just celebrities, but two souls who have chosen each other twice. And that's perhaps the rarest kind of love of all. In a world that often celebrates fleeting romance, Jerry Yan and Tong Liya remind us that real love isn't loud. It doesn't need validation. It simply endures quietly, faithfully, beautifully, beyond the spotlight.